Alentila Lumeno Mentielbo. Welcome to Tolkien on Tap. I'm TJ. Grab a drink and enjoy. Almien. All right, welcome to Tolkien on Tap. I have some really fun guests today. So let's get going. Anthony, say hello.
Hey, Teach.
Hey,
My name's Anthony. You guys might follow me. I'm the golfing drummer online on all my socials, but happy to be here. Happy to be on Tolkien on Tap. Let's go.
nice. What are you drinking tonight?
Little John Daly,
Nice.
little Arnold Palmer and vodka, just because I'm too lazy to go buy some
Nice.
tequila from the store right now.
I got an Arnie Palmy, huh?
How
Nice.
about
George, how are
yourself?
you doing? Oh, well, normally I go last, but we can go. I'm just drinking a normal American lager, Coors Light. That's just what I had. I'm nursing a hangover, so this is my
Fair.
first drink of the day. So I'm gonna keep it a little calm for a little bit. We'll see what happens. Yeah. George, how you doing?
I'm good.
Nice. Tell us a
Um,
little bit about yourself.
yeah, I'm George. You can find me, I'm George and Stuff on most places. Although if you're not on Threads, you probably don't know anything about me because I haven't really done any posting anywhere else much other than Threads and Blue Sky. I'm gonna start on TikTok since it's back, question mark.
Yeah, question mark for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, and I am drinking Chicago Zone Goose Island 312.
Oh, very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. That's a cool brewery. I've been there. Although it is on the north side, so I'm not the biggest fan of that.
Oh, well, so am I.
Don't
So,
don't don't give me that look, Anthony. Listen, White Sox. You want me to change my hat? I'll put my White Sox hat
Oh
on if you need.
no, I'm gonna go get my Cubs gear right now.
nice.
Lily, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Lily, or a little Tookish on most places, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, IG, all that good stuff. And I am drinking good old water tonight. I am the designated driver, so to
N-
speak.
Yep. Nice. Nice. So how did any of you get into Tolkien? I love talking about Tolkien. Obviously, that's why I started this. I'm just interested to hear how everyone came to it. Go in whatever order you want, or do you want
Uh,
me to call on someone? Lily.
sure.
Awesome.
I came to it through the Fellowship of the Ring movie when it released in 2001 or 2, way back then.
Yep.
I had never heard of Tolkien or Lord of the Rings. I had only seen the trailer. I didn't even know it was a trilogy. I just knew from the trailer that I was already obsessed and had to see it. So I saw it opening night and it completely changed my life. And I have been Tolkien obsessed ever since.
Nice.
That was back when I was a teenager. I'm in my 40s now. So
Nice. Did you dress up for for the Return of the King? Were you that person?
I did not because
Oh,
then I
okay.
didn't realize cosplay was a thing. I did not have the internet back then. So
Right. I was a huge nerd in high school already, because I was 16 when it came out, and well, when the Fellowship came out, I was 18 when Return of the King came out, and I dressed up as Frodo, and I
nice.
went with a group of friends. Like we had the entire Fellowship with us, plus one of our friends who dressed up like Professor Tolkien.
Oh, that
Amazing.
Yeah,
is
I've tried to track
fantastic.
down those pictures. A friend of mine said she might have them. I asked her months ago, and she hasn't gotten back to me, which is really sad because I would love to see those pictures. I used to have long flowing hair back then. It was gorgeous. I didn't even need a wig to be Frodo.
Amazing. Yeah, I did actually get to cosplay a Hobbit last year though at my first Ren Fair, so that was super fun.
That's
That's
awesome.
But
amazing.
That's
yeah,
that's cool. Did you just like piecemeal stuff together? Did you sew anything?
I bought everything. I'm not
Okay.
I want to sew. I don't have the skills to make a costume at
I
this
feel
point.
that.
I
I
can
feel that.
imagine as well.
Yeah.
So
George, what about you? How'd you get into it?
So my mom is a Lord of the Rings fan. And so she read them to me. She read me The Hobbit first. I was probably 7 or 8. And she read The Hobbit to me, and I loved it. Um, and that was like our bedtime ritual for however long. And then I
That's
loved it.
awesome.
And then, the next year, whatever, I was a little older, ready for it. And so then we did the same thing with The Lord of the Rings. So like anytime this year, I've been doing a reread, mostly using the audiobooks. And like I love, some things and hate things, but also like the gold standard for me is like I'm always comparing it to like Becky Young's voice work, from
I don't
1994, my mom. So it's like So
Oh,
that
oh,
so
oh, okay.
yeah, Becky Young is my mom.
I'm
Sorry, that
over
was the bit
I'm
there.
over here like I don't think I've seen that audiobook.
Yeah, no, 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 sorry. I forgot. Oh, I guess it is here. Yeah, yeah. So my last name is Young, as is my mother's last name. Anyway, yeah. So I love the stories, and it's very much also just my mom and I bonded over
Mhm.
that. It was a very formative thing for me, and so I have somewhere. I'm trying to figure out how to get it on here so I can share it. But I have me dressed up as Gandalf for
Oh, nice.
Halloween in say 1995 or so. Um,
Nice.
and it's hilarious and ridiculous. But yeah, so that's just sort of instilled in me a lifelong thing. And of course, the movies came out, and that was just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
I love it.
let's cheers to Becky Young for that. That's
Hey,
awesome.
Becky Young. Yeah,
Indoctrinating the children into Tolkien from a young
that's
age.
exactly right.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Anthony, what about you?
So I'm one of five. I've got four siblings, right? And my oldest brother, Patrick, and no, and just as a preference, just saying it, nobody was into Tolkien in my high school besides myself. I couldn't find a single person that read the books. And so
Yeah.
my brother, my freshman year of high school, took me to Fellowship of the Ring in theaters, and however many few days later, bought me my first copy of Lord of the Rings, and not just any regular, but one of those real nice one volume, not one volume, sorry, the full novel,
Woohoo.
all three volumes in it, all six books in it.
Yeah.
Yes, just like that. But I mean, 20 some odd years ago.
Right.
Um, and ever since then, I was absolutely hooked. I mean, I absolutely love it. And so I'm thankful that Pat really drove that into me, and I'm really thankful because I wasn't. If you would have known me when I was 14, you'd be like, "Nah, he ain't got to do that." No,
Why
he.
not?
He's a sports guy. He plays soccer,
Oh,
he plays hockey. He does
you
all
were
this.
the
It's like,
jock.
and then it's like, well, no, I'm also an English honors student who loves to read.
Yeah. See, secret nerd.
Um, yeah, I loved it, man. I was that guy. I was captain of the drum line kind of thing. Like I was a fucking, but I also loved. I just got along with everybody, and I think Tolkien reading that and the way he treats people and the
Hmm.
way fellowship is really enacted throughout, not just obviously Fellowship of the Ring, but the whole trilogy.
Hmm.
It just stuck with me forever. And so it really changed my perspective on a lot of different things. So the way I think, the way I feel, yeah, had a major, major impact and for the better.
Yeah. For those of you watching, I really hope this is in the recording. Here's the picture of George dressed up as Gandalf. That's awesome, actually.
That is amazing.
Yeah, seriously, I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, no, that's super cool. Talking about fellowship, that is something that I talk with a lot of the people in the Tolkien community about, especially with the whole TikTok ban that like just happened for 15 hours, which was super weird that it was 15
Yeah.
hours. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're constantly talking about fellowship and like the love and respect that characters have in it. Um, and I just I'm so glad you brought that up because it's a very important point in the stories. I'm super glad you brought that up because, like I said, I'm constantly talking about it with people in the Tolkien community. This and that's the really cool thing about this community is like
Oh, shoot.
it's not a competition between anybody. It's just like, hey, you love it, I love it. Let's talk about it, you know. And I absolutely love that. And that's how I met all of you through the community through random, whether it be threads or TikTok I don't know if anybody was on Instagram first. I think I met everybody through the other two apps.
Mhm.
And it's been great. So what's everybody's like favorite thing? Like, what does everyone just like go back to whenever they like pick up a book or even in the movies or the Rings of Power, any of that?
So for me, it's more of an emotional part, especially in the movie when Gandalf says death is just another path. 10 days from now will be the fifth anniversary of my father passing.
Hmm.
Mm.
And it's tough, right? And knowing and reading that, it just, he was a big believer, and it just makes me happier knowing that he's off in that far green country, right? So yeah, That's the spot I go. Sorry.
You're
No,
That's
no,
the
good.
you don't
spot
have
You're
to
that's the
good.
spot I
apologize.
go to. That's the
You
spot
don't.
I go to almost every time.
Yeah, I get that. That is a in the movie. That's such a great part in that
Oh,
movie.
the
Although
way Pippin looks at
speaking,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm always that person. I'm always like, Gandalf, are you teasing him? Because like, you don't actually know what happens to the race of men when they die. What are you doing? What are you doing? You
He's
get to go.
messing him a little bit.
I mean, they do get to go to the Halls of Mandos for a little bit,
So
but
he'll
it's
see
not
that
like,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, you'll pass over, like you'll fly over on the plane, on the soul plane, on your way to Mandos. But sorry, Pip, you're not gonna actually get to hang out there. You'll be in the halls of Mandos.
Yeah.
I don't know how long, and then you're just gonna, I don't know, you just won't be there anymore suddenly.
The sunrise will be really swift.
The sunrise will be really swift. Exactly, exactly. Anybody else?
I have a couple things that I go back to.
Mm-hmm.
One is just a very simple quote, and it's from the very beginning of Fellowship. It is no bad thing to prioritize a simple life. Uh, and that goes back to my late grandfather, who I was incredibly close to. He wasn't a Tolkien fan, but that was something he lived by. He always talked about simplicity and keeping things just as simple as possible, and that's something that stuck with me all my life. But the other thing I go back to is in Return of the King, the
Mm,
movies. There's the lighting of the beacons, which is one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema. But then there's also this point where Pippin and Gandalf are standing out on a balcony, and Pippin says something to the effect of, I don't want to be in a battle, but waiting on the edge of one is almost worse.
Mm.
mm-hmm.
That just, that is just the perfect encapsulation of anxiety to me.
Yeah.
And as an anxious being, that is just, I'm like, oh my God, you're speaking me. You're
Yeah.
talking about how I feel. And yes, that's something else that's always stuck with me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I read Lord of the Rings the first time when I was 15, I believe, because I read The Hobbit when I was like 11 or 12, and I didn't hop into the Lord of the Rings until I heard that it was going to be a film. Because I'm one of those people that like I would rather read a book that has some sort of physical media, like visual media,
Hmm.
afterward. Just I really like seeing differences and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know. I don't know why. Like I do it with like Jurassic Park and Jaws and bunch
Yeah,
of other
that's
stuff
fair.
I've done it with too. Um, but so I read Lord of the Rings when I was 15, and like I was like, oh, this is really fun. There's some really sweet stuff. But then you read it again as an adult, and you're like, there's so much stuff in here that you just don't catch until you like go through some shit in life.
Yeah.
Like Eowyn's depression. Like I
Yes.
didn't catch that at all. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I just paid attention to the badassery that happens, and like all I saw was she just wants to go to war and she wants to like she's like, oh yeah, if I die in war, that's cool. Like that's how I took it as a kid. Obviously I clearly wasn't reading it correctly because it's laid out pretty plainly that she is depressed. But yeah, then I went back and read it as an adult, and I was like, man, this is like deep. There's so much stuff like that.
Yeah.
To your point, Lily.
Hmm. There's a lot of, it's really easy to look at stuff on a surface level, especially when you're just coming to something and at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go back, like on even just one subsequent watch or read,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's that same year, and you catch stuff that you didn't prior, bleh, you didn't in your prior watch or read,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, that's some deep shit right there.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in Lord of the Rings and the Greater Legendarium in
Oh yeah.
general.
Oh yeah.
I've actually been on I did my reread of the Lord of the Rings this year, which I actually hadn't read for maybe 10 years. So this is my first reread in a long time. And then I did a reread of the Silmarillion, and I've done so many books so far. And friends have pointed me to, well, specifically Lee pointed me to the Shibboleth of Feanor. David the Nodo pointed me to Athrabeth, Finrod, Andrath. By the way, Finrod mentioned drink if you are drinking. Oh yeah, by the way, we do drinking games on this. If Finrod is mentioned, by the way, we have to take a drink. If
Great.
we say fuck Elway Singolo or Syndiculo or fuck Thingle or whatever, which by the way, take a drink. That's another one. I think Lee and David have like a list of what the ones are. I think it's David who said he came up with a list for it, and I don't know if he sent it or maybe they were suggesting We have a list. I should just put a list on the wall behind me, but or not behind me, but like behind the computer. But yeah. So there's a couple drinking games with this, guys.
Love it.
I'm
George,
here for
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah.
George, what about you?
Well, yeah, I was just saying, I'm glad there's just so many like themes that I feel like I have always latched onto, even as a kid. Like just for one, just the whole like the Tolkien legendarium sort of relationship to power and strength and what that means and doesn't mean and where that falters, is to me fairly unique.
Mhm.
Just it's so much about being humble, about being, being a good friend. And then also just I'm glad you guys brought up because the just the number of times in different ways that he deals with like depression and things like that. And
Mhm.
as somebody who, I've dealt with a fair bit of that in my life. And also like I love comedy, I do comedy. And so there's a few like every time I read or watch the movies, there's always one or two things that like sink into me. I don't know. I feel like they just get me to my core. Like this time, honestly, the funniest thing was in the appendices of The Lord of the Rings. You have Aragorn's final conversation with his mom,
Mhm.
and she is feeling hopeless. She's aware of that the timing seems to be right, that Aragorn is going to be the one to actually return as the king, but she can't make it. And the quote she says to him in their last conversation is, "I bring hope to the Dunedain, but keep none for myself." And that just like bore a hole in me as somebody who like has dealt with a fair bit of depression and also like you know, spends a fair bit of time in comedy circles and experience that in myself, and then also just other friends that I have that are just absolutely the funniest person you know.
Yeah.
But just that sort of thing of like, sort of that, I don't know, for me, I'm rambling a little bit, but that's just
No,
like,
You're
ramble,
great.
man,
I
ramble.
love,
Oh
I
yeah.
love the purpose of that, of like, even at my darkest, even when I feel like I can't connect for anything for myself, like life still has there's so much marrow to be drunk in that thought of like, I don't know if I can make it better for me, but I can make it better for somebody else. So yeah. um anyway, so that's just, there's always something like that in Tolkien, both in the movies and the books and Rings of Power. Oh, Rings of Power.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I also, TJ, like you, I I love the process of adaptation. So I'm way more likely to enjoy a book if there is a movie that I can watch later,
Yeah.
or vice versa. But I'm fascinated with that, and that's kind of one of my passions in the Tolkien stuff, is finding like how they make the adaptations and like why they make specific choices. And
Oh, so you do what I do, and when the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings came out, did you just like devour those appendices over and over and over again?
100%,
Yeah,
yes.
I lived down in Arizona for a couple of. It was really only a couple of months. I don't think anybody knows this. I got this is going to be a bit of a longer story, so like settle in
Bring
for a
it.
second, guys. um, by the way, for those who don't know, I tangent and I'm verbose. Here we go. So,
Same.
my older cousin was in a band, and there was another band that asked him to play bass for them. He said he couldn't because they wanted to tour, but he suggested me, which I was like, oh, that's awesome. It's very sweet of him. And they asked me, and I was like, absolutely, let's go tour. That tour fell through, but I learned all their music, and they were really good musicians. So, a couple, I don't know, like a month or two later, they hit me up and they were like, "Hey, we got a record deal. You want to move down to Arizona?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I thought I was about to be like famous playing music, which was like a dream when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and and so moved down there, and I was by myself all the time in a house. By the way, back in God, what year was that? 2009 or 10. I was able to rent a house for like under $1,000, like a 4 bedroom corner lot house for under $1,000. It was amazing.
What?
Um, like 3 bathrooms too, attached garage. Anyways, I'm not like selling Arizona right now, but I should get sponsored by the whole state of Arizona for that. But
Yes.
back in
Free tea
2009,
for life.
right? But back in 2009, Arizona, like I'll get a phone call from like the past. Anyways, so I was there and I was like alone all the time. And when I wasn't playing music, all I would do was watch those, either watch Lord of the Rings or watch those appendices over and over and over and over. So yeah, I probably used to be able to quote them. It's been a while since I've gone through and watched them, but yeah, I love figuring out how things happened and why things happened, which is probably why I like the whole, like what George is talking about, the process of adaptation. And that's really cool that all of you picked really deep things that you enjoy, like emotional things that you enjoy. I actually, before this, was watching YouTube, and there's a channel I watch called Cinema Therapy, and they were breaking down like the character of Bilbo and his heroism, and they kept playing like some like beautiful scenes, and like so it's a therapist and a filmmaker watching these films, and just analyzing them. And they showed the part where Galadriel is asking Gandalf about why he chose Bilbo, and that scene is not in The Hobbit in the book. It's
No,
completely made up for the film, and it's one of the most beautiful parts of the film. It's ridiculous, and like I'm not the biggest fan of The
absolutely
Hobbit.
love it.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hobbit film, but that scene, good God, is it so good?
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
I have a similar one, and I was sort of the same. Like, I, th the more time goes on, the more I appreciate the Hobbit movies, but I still have plenty of complaints.
Yeah,
But some of the movie additions are so good and so like capture a really good theme. Like
yeah.
maybe my favorite scene in all three Hobbit movies, is I think it's like the end of the first one where
Hmm.
they've escaped from the orcs,
Yeah,
and Thorin's asking Bilbo why he came back, why he continues on the
Oh,
quest.
yes,
that's
And he's
yes,
like,
that's
yes.
that's in the
you
video
just
I was
miss your
watching.
Oh,
books.
so good.
Yeah.
I
And
adore
then
that.
he's like, you're
Yeah.
right. I do miss my books. I miss Bag End. For me, that's home.
I
And you
miss my
don't have
armchair.
one. Yeah, I miss my armchair. And you don't have one. It was taken from you. And I'd like to help you get it back if I can. And that's not in the book,
Yeah,
but it's so like, ugh, it's so
yeah.
Or how
good.
about the end of Battle of the Five Armies when you're teased at five? You're all
Yes.
welcome. Like, oh,
Oh, it's so good. Like, here's my take. I don't know if we're ready for takes. I've got lots of takes. But
No, let's have some
um,
takes.
take
it's
away.
so interesting because I was um in my, what was that, 10 years ago? So, in my early 30s, I was a little more uptight, a little more of just an uptight nerd. And so, like, I was mad about the things you expect me to be mad about the Hobbit movies, oh, the love
Relatable.
triangle, oh,
Tario and
the,
all that, yeah.
there's
Yep,
so,
relatable.
and honestly, on this rewatch, I'm fine with all of it. Some of it I don't love. The only thing to me that feels very un-Tolkien and annoying about those movies. I mean, there's too much CGI, blah, 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 but like, is the use of suspense, something that Tolkien as a writer is not particularly interested in at all. That was a big takeaway from the book, so I'll get to that in a second.
Hmm.
But like, the movies are a fairly straight adaptation. If you add like, and then something insane happened that almost killed every single one of the people, but none of them died, to every
Yeah.
third sentence in the book. Like,
Un
they're in the
until
mountains.
until until the
Yeah.
Battle of Five Armies, when we do
Yeah.
lose three of the
But
dwarves.
that was a surprise too, is like,
Yeah.
that's my complaint on those movies. And even though, like, when that came out, everyone was like, oh, Battle of Five Armies is the worst. It
The Dune
uh
earthworms got me a little bit in Battle of the
Yeah,
Five
I
Armies.
guess. But for me, I felt like the action got more Tolkien appropriate in Battle of Five Armies, because it's like Peter Jackson knows how to do battles.
Hmm.
Like, it's the silly stuff. It's all the, probably 3 hours worth of silly stuff in the previous two movies where it's like something goes wrong. Like, oh, they're escaping from the goblins and the bridge gives way and they fall what appears to be 400 feet, and are all fine. Then the
How
goblin
the
king.
hell is Bilbo alive?
Right. Yeah. Every one of those they wouldn't have survived getting out of the Shire, the way things happen in that movie.
Yeah,
Um, which that, can I go on a tangent?
absolutely.
A
Hey, if
little
you
bit.
want to,
So related to
I just
that,
went on a tangent.
yeah, sure. So related to that, like, that's one of the things that hit me, um, this reread this year. is how uninterested in suspense Tolkien is for the most part. He's
Mhm.
not he's interested in telling you a story, he's interested in building this world, he's interested in the characters' reactions and thoughts and feelings. He's not interested in making you go, what? Like there's a bunch of things. Part of it, he is interested in prophecy. So you have a few things like in Moria, when they're going to go into the mines, it's Aragorn that doesn't want to go, and Gandalf is, that's Gandalf's first idea.
Right.
But even like in that, in Gandalf and Aragorn's conversation, Aragorn is like, I'm not really worried about anybody else. I am worried that you specifically, Gandalf, will die before the end of week, like,
Yeah.
and then that's anyway. So but the bigger one to me, this is like, we all know the moment from the movies and the book where like, Sam is like, I can't carry the ring for you, but I can carry you. Um, and that happens in the book. But Sam is the POV character. And before that actually happens, 2 or 3 times we hear Sam in his head go, God, I might just have to pick him up and carry him. Like
Yeah.
there's lots of things like
Yeah.
Tolkien is just not interested in suspense in a way that's kind of because he's so interested in mythology. If you read old
Right.
mythology, it's the same way. Beowulf tells you at the beginning, which was like Tolkien's favorite story, tells you at the beginning, like, oh, this is what happens. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did this and he did this, and then the dragon killed him.
Yeah.
Like it's very mythological. So anyway, so all that to say, like that to me, nice. Is that the Tolkien
Nice.
translation?
Nice.
No, I don't have the Tolkien
I didn't
translation of
I didn't know
Beowulf.
that was public. I knew he'd
This
done it. I
is
didn't know that was
this is
published until like last
You
week.
do that.
Seamus Heaney, is that how you say it? Heaney. It's gotta be
I think
Heaney.
so. But
Seamus
yeah,
Heaney.
anyway, that was just something that struck me that was interesting doing a reread of all the books and then a rewatch of all the movies. And like I was fine with a lot of the other Hobbit changes, but like honestly to me, that's what feels the most un-Tolkien is every single moment is like, oh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, it feels
Which is
it's very,
not,
very Hollywood.
which is not Tolkien at all.
Yeah, I was just
So,
watching in
yeah.
that video. I was watching about Bilbo. They showed like him getting Sting, and then like they hear a noise, and everyone's pulling out their weapons and going off screen. Like that, what? Why? Like that's the calm after the troll battle. Like it's not instantly like oh God, here comes another enemy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. By the way, don't feel bad about going on a tangent. Like go on tangents. I love hearing
Love it.
about this stuff.
That's my big thing too, George, is all the Hobbit movies, that my big thing with them is they just feel rushed.
Mhm.
Even though they did 3 of them for one
Yeah.
book that could have been one movie,
Yeah.
they still somehow feel like they're just trying to, we got to get to the next thing. And
Yeah.
it's,
Huh. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before.
yeah. No,
Interesting.
I see where George is coming from here. I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy the Hobbit movies. I didn't at first, like George was saying, I had my gripes.
Mm-hmm.
It was one book, why does it need to be 3 movies? Blah 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 blah. Um, but as time has gone on, like look, I'm a Hobbit movie enjoyer. I admit it.
Yeah.
I like
Same.
it.
Oh, yeah.
It's valid.
Um, the first one is probably my favorite.
Yes.
Sorry,
Uh,
I'm nodding. Yeah, further.
I am very much due for a rewatch of the second too, because I haven't seen them in a couple of years. Um,
I don't
Good.
think I've seen
It's
Battle
worth
of
it.
Five Armies since it came out in theaters.
you
Yeah.
know,
That's
I
fair.
was so pretentious, uptight, whatever, that I saw the first one in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it a lot, but I hadn't read The Hobbit yet, and I
Okay.
didn't know anything about it. I
Mm-hmm.
literally came to all of Tolkien through the movies.
Okay.
Sure. Great. A lot of
And
people did.
so I saw the first one in theaters, really liked it, and then I read the book, and I'm like, oh, that's the first one is somewhat pretty faithful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, how the fuck are they making this 3 movies?
Yeah.
There's no reason, and I didn't see the other 2 in theaters. I just
Oh,
watched them
Do you,
when they
hey
came out,
guys,
like on
do
movies
you
and
think
whatnot.
Finrod would like the Hobbit movies? Drink.
Finrod loved everybody.
Yeah.
Almost just choked on that. Anthony almost just killed me with my beloved. I saw them all in theaters. But when I saw Desolation of Smaug and I got out of there, I was pissed.
Mhm.
It's called Desolation of Smaug, and that
The
dude
only
doesn't
good scene in
desolate
that
anything.
entire movie is Bilbo and Smaug getting after each other, talking to each
Yeah,
other.
Yeah,
That was
they nailed
great.
that.
But the
Yes.
rest of the movie, I'm like,
yeah. I don't. I mean, I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer on everything
I
on
get
it
it.
because like, um, well, no, just because like I can be and I don't want to be. That's what I'm saying. But I do want to. First of all, agree with George. Like, you did say there's way too much CGI, and yes, I agree. Like there's way too they relied too much on CGI, not as much on CGI with other things like they did in the Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings has
Right.
tons of CGI too. It's just there
A
was a
movie
lot
that
of
was made a decade prior, by the way, too.
Yeah.
well, right, right,
How do
right.
we
Yeah, and
not
there was
improve?
like new. I'm sorry, what?
I was saying it was and Lord of the Rings was a movie made movies made a decade prior. So how did we not
Right.
improve the
I
CG?
Well,
Like, what are
they
we
had new
doing, guys?
they had new camera technology. They had to
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
new lighting and because of the way the camera captured color, they had to have like what was it called? Over exaggerated colors, like bright over exaggerated colors so it would look normal on screen. I watched those appendices too. Um
I have not watched those appendices.
actually I think there were vlogs when that was being made that
Okay.
Peter Jackson put out and I was watching the vlogs and that's how I knew about the uh the costuming having to be like super vibrant so it would look correct on the cameras. Wasn't it like 4K cameras or something, the very first ones or something like
Yeah.
that?
Something like
They
that.
were
Yeah.
like
It's like,
prototype cameras, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
You can
but
tell in
like,
certain shots, like you're like, whoa.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, and watch those if you go back and watch those vlog posts that they were making for production, which I think are also part of the appendices. If you guys have the DVDs of The Hobbit, um, you can see when they're not shooting with those like crazy new cameras what the costumes actually look like. They're wild. They are
Mm,
so damn bright.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Um,
But yeah, so aside from like there being too much CGI, which I do agree with, or an over reliance on CGI and not as much of a marriage as there was in Lord of the Rings, I don't like that they changed the design of Smaug. You gave him the classic European four legs, two wings in the very first film, and then you changed it. It's a fantasy movie. I don't need scientifically accurate dragons that didn't even exist anyways. I don't care if the shoulders of the front legs and the wings don't make sense. It's a fucking dragon. Dragons don't fucking exist.
Right.
You mean
They
my
ain't
goddamn
real.
four-legged, two-winged dragon?
is
Fuck.
it, do you know why? Probably so, because this is probably from that. But
Sorry,
the
that's my
part of the
tangent.
reason they did that, they designed him the way they did in the later two movies, is because
The
of
mocap.
his mocap. The way he did the mocap as if it was the one way, and then they were
Yeah.
like,
Right.
"Well, I guess we're stuck with that."
But I mean,
The behind the
that still
scenes
could have
videos are
been
wild.
his. What? I'm sorry, Anthony.
Oh, I was saying the behind the scenes videos of
Yeah,
Oh,
Benedict Cumberbatch are wild when he's
yeah.
doing
Oh, he was
motion
so
capture. Like,
into it. I
yeah,
loved
so into
watching
it.
that too. He was so
great
into
Yeah,
it. But I mean,
actor.
that could have been his front limbs and his hind limbs, and then they just
yeah.
animate wings in. I mean, like the Rankin Bass Hobbit, Smaug is phenomenal. Like it's weird that he has a cat face. I kind of like it, but it's a little weird. Like it's a weird like
Oh
I'll
yeah.
take that design,
That's
but
yeah.
yeah, it's a weird design, but I kind of dig it. But I mean, I love the European dragon. Like, give me a European standard European dragon. I'm so tired of all these, especially with Tolkien, because like Tolkien drew that dragon. He drew Smaug
Mhm.
for us to see with four limbs and two wings. Please give me it that way, okay? Like, you don't have to be super faithful about everything, but give me the goddamn dragon
Right.
with fucking four limbs and two. I don't know. Listen, I'm sorry, everybody who's listening and on panel. This is like for some reason, it's a sore spot for me. I can get over it because Benedict Cumberbatch, botch? I don't know why I got an accent suddenly for like that syllable of that word, but
Hey.
right. But Benedict Cumberbatch was amazing as Smaug. I really, really liked his Smaug. I really liked the way Martin Freeman and Smaug interacted.
Yeah, that scene is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the scale of him was insane. I loved how big he was.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I feel like the
same.
Rankin Bass one, he's not that big. Um,
When
well,
he says, "Well, do you now?" and he brings out all his wings and shows everything off, you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
And
oh."
that's such a great Tolkien moment too. I think that's kind of from the book too, because he's bragging about how good he is, and that's
hmm
Yep.
literally the moment that lets Bilbo go, "Oh, She's
Right.
got a big old weak spot right about
There's
there. Like
spots.
that's
You mean
most
the time?
stupendous.
You mean that spot where Bilbo suddenly has elf seeing and he sees like this tiny, tiny, tiny spot on this massive thing?
Is
Yeah.
this the
Well, if I can be a nerd for a second, something I
Please,
noticed on the reread,
Please.
please.
that also I understand why it never gets brought into any adaptation because I feel like it would just look stupid.
Mhm.
But in the book, Smaug does not have powerful, awesome scales on his underbelly, and
Yeah,
one of
it's
them's wrong.
just
He has a soft underbelly that
right.
he sticks like gold and treasure to. He made armor onto himself.
Did he
And
make it, or
there's
was
a
it just from him laying on the
I think
horde
just
for
from
so
laying.
long?
I'm not clear on the
like
you know
stuck
Yeah,
to him, I think.
I assumed it
where
was
it
from
came from.
laying on the horde.
Probably so, but like yeah, but he's proud of it still. It's like something he's like, yeah, look, see, I've got all
He's
this on me
He
now.
flashing.
was
Right.
bedazzled.
But it's
Right,
but
right.
and so
Dazzled?
that's what he sees. So he's not seeing one missing scale like in the Rankin Bass or
Right.
in the movies.
The
Right,
Hobbit,
It's a
right.
yeah.
big old like, oh,
It's
there's a
like a
big old
spot.
hole right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just
So yeah.
listen, George, I'm just trying to make a joke.
No, no. Well, listen.
I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you, George.
Would I be a true Tolkien fan if I didn't take someone trying to make a joke
You
and then
being
take it super seriously and go on a 15-minute rant about it?
like, I feel
I
like
feel
I
like
need
that's
to.
what being a Tolkien fan is about.
I feel like I need to be like Wile E. Coyote for like anybody for like the YouTube part of this, where people who are gonna see like when something happens, I just hold up the sign that has the TM when I'm like, or it says that person TM, so that people can see like, hold on, we're having one of those moments.
Amazing.
Brought to you
I
by
love that.
being
Yeah.
that person.
No, so that was a good joke, and then but my reptilian brain went, "Hey,
No,
the
dude, it's all
book! I
good.
just read that."
No, it's all good. I haven't read The Hobbit in so long. I read it to
Yeah.
my kid, my oldest kid, almost 2 years ago now, and she was kind of into it. She loves Luthien though. I read
Mhm.
her Baron and Luthien, and she
Well,
loved
correct
that.
choice. I'm making two
Luthien's a
thumbs
good
up.
character to love.
Luthion's a
Yeah,
great
I
like
character to
like
love.
Luthien.
yeah, I made a TikTok video of her. She was off screen, but of me asking her if she wanted to be a Disney princess or a Tolkien princess, and she chose Tolkien princess, and I asked why, or who her favorites were,
Hmm.
and she picked Luthien and Galadriel.
Good picks.
And she like knew some lore because I talk about this. I don't know if you guys can guess that I'm a little obsessed with the Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings and the
Ah,
Tolkien universe. So
interesting.
she
It,
knows
it
some
ki-
lore,
kind of occurred to me.
but some of the yeah
This much.
yeah some of the comments were like, well, this doesn't feel scripted at all, and I was like, it's not whatsoever. Like I literally didn't even record that more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
No, it's the same thing.
My kid's
My
a
Henry,
nerd
my
just like me.
8-year-old, he loves The Hobbit.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't read it to him. I didn't read it to him last year, but every year I try to.
that's cool.
He absolutely loves it.
Look at you indoctrinating children with Lord of the Rings as
Nice. Yeah,
well.
there you go. Becky
Cheers
Young
to you,
Movie Crowd.
Anthony.
You know what? Here's something wild,
Anthony.
man. My youngest, Clara, she's 4 years old. We watch that Rankin Bass Hobbit all the time.
Mhm.
She
Oh, yeah.
absolutely loves it. Has no
Oh,
idea
yeah.
what's really going on, but
Yeah.
it's just like, well, Dad's
Mhm.
into it, so it must be all right.
Oh, my 3-year-old is
Mm.
terrified by that film. She doesn't like it. She does not like the animation style of Rankin Bass whatsoever.
That's awesome.
She saw it and she goes, I don't like this.
Like, Dad, no, this ain't it.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Lily, I got a question for you.
What's up?
So your handle is a little tookish.
Yes.
Why are you a little tookish?
Well, because I am a hobbit in all but size, just like the
Mhm.
professor.
Mhm.
But I am very much a homebody,
Mhm.
very much like Bilbo. But there is that side of me that likes adventure. The took
Okay.
side of me.
Do you
I like
golf?
Yes.
Say that
'Cause
again.
do you golf? Because band of brass took.
You know, my grandparents tried to teach me golfing when I was a kid.
Okay, it's there. It's there.
Not
There's the
stick.
connection. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Actually,
there you
it
go.
fits. It fits 100%. You are actually a little tookish.
Oh yeah.
That's
As
and that
someone
tracks.
who goes by the golfing drummer, I fucking love it.
And that super tracks with the fact that we're talking about the Hobbit and Bilbo Baggins in particular. I love that we just kind of like we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk about Bilbo this whole time because Bilbo is a
Favorite character.
phenomenal character. I love Bilbo
Yes.
so much.
He's
Absolutely,
one
yes.
of my favorite characters in all
He's-
of fiction.
He
Yeah.
is my favorite Lord of the Rings character.
Yeah.
What my
Man, he's
favorite thing
awesome.
my favorite thing Bilbo ever does in either the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings is when he slights everyone with the presents the day after he disappears.
Yes.
Oh my
It's
god.
like it's those some of those letters are just adorably hilarious, and it feels very Tolkien because like I'm
Mhm.
going through the Tolkien letters right now, and
Oh man.
when he dislikes something, he will say something like what Bilbo wrote in those letters
Uh-huh.
about the person. It's kind of funny. He calls himself pedantic constantly too. He calls himself pedantic and verbose a lot, which I've done for a long
Yeah.
time before I read these letters. And I was like, good God, this man does the same stuff I do. That kind of feels cool. That's a little validating for being this
Yeah.
much of a nerd about it.
I just finished reading the letters last year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
And dude, all the shit that you find in those letters
Yeah.
that comes to light
Hmm.
regarding the publishing process and just the professor himself
Yeah.
is wild.
Hmm.
Like, I knew he wanted the Silmarillion published
Yeah.
before the Lord of the Rings. Like, the Silmarillion was, for all intents and purposes, his baby. But
Right.
the way that Alan and Unwin were like, no, just
Right.
no, not happening.
Well, and Rainer, I think Rainer's the son, right?
Reyna, yeah.
Rainer
Reyna
Unwin.
Unwin.
Yeah. Even he was just like, when he got that private letter from Alan and Unwin that Rayner had sent to them,
Hmm.
and then they sent it all along to him, and then
Hmm.
he's like a little pissed, like, it seems like that wasn't meant for me. I'm not entirely sure why you sent that, but I guess I'll speak on it. I was just like,
You're like,
damn, they pissed off the professor, and
Yeah.
he's,
damn, Ron, take it easy on us.
yeah, no, they were. He seemed not happy about that whatsoever. I'm not that far off. I think I've been doing audiobook just
Yeah, I
because
did audiobook too.
I have long drive to and from work. So it's really easy to just audiobook and zone out for an hour while I'm
Mhm.
driving.
Yep, get it.
I think I'm in like I think I just got in the 300 or I'm close to the 300s. I'd have to let me see. Let me go open my Audible real quick. Man, it'd be so
No.
cool if I just like mention what I'm doing in real life and someone hears it and goes, "Oh, they listen to Audible. Maybe I'll sponsor their podcast. That'd be super sweet."
Dude,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. Because
Right?
Audible is what I use too.
Oh, okay. So I'm in. I have. Why did I not finish this? I have a minute 29 seconds left. It's probably in letter 300 that I'm in right now. Why did I not finish that? I must have been doing something, or someone called me and I forgot that I was listening to it. This podcast also brought to you by my ADHD.
Hey,
Belt?
speaking of pot, I'm gonna go grab another, guys. Be right back.
Absolutely, man.
Great.
Yeah, those letters are amazing. George, have you read the letters at all?
I have not. That's sort of on my like list of things to do as I've, sort of dived back into the
Yeah,
obsession this past year.
yeah. I
Like,
can't recommend it enough. Those letters
Same.
are
mm,
phenomenal.
They really are, yeah.
Yeah, like Lily says, there's a lot of really cool insight in them. It's actually really cute, like for lack of a better term, how much he wrote Christopher specifically
Oh my gosh,
before.
yes.
Yeah, because like letters, whatever through whatever, there's like a large span of letters where it's just him corresponding with Christopher.
yeah,
Hmm.
Mind you, these are the ones that they have record of, so he could have been writing to um, John and Michael as well, but it seems like Christopher was almost like his partner almost. I would say secretary, but he was
yeah.
almost his partner.
Well, is
Well,
that
for all intents and purposes, he was Tolkien's confidant in making these tales.
yeah. There's a
Yeah, which is awesome.
it's probably from this section, I'm not sure, but I've read like one of the coolest, like, to help you understand the professor moments. There's an excerpt from a letter from Tolkien to Christopher where he's talking about um I can't remember what section it is. I think um it might be the Ride of the Rohirrim into
Hmm.
but he's talking about the section and he's talking about he let C.S. Lewis read it.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, it brought Jack to tears. But of course, what I care most about is what your thoughts are on it. And
Yes.
Hmm.
there's just like
Hmm.
such a sweet, like, and so much is made, especially for those of us who grew up evangelical, and were taught to revere the whole, club that C.S. Lewis had with Tolkien and stuff. Like to know that, like, oh, that was his real relation to Jack, to C.S. Lewis. But then
Right.
like Christopher Tolkien is the one that he really wanted to read it. That made me so happy. Like I just love that so much.
Yeah. It's one of the most heartwarming things, the way he valued Christopher, and like I completely understand why he wrote in his will what he did. For those who don't know, um, Tolkien wrote. I'm sure all of you have heard this. We all kind of roll in the same circles for our socials, but for those that don't know who are listening or watching, um, Tolkien gave Christopher carte blanche to either publish it all, throw it all away, or change whatever the fuck he wanted to. He was like, this is
Yeah.
mine, and you've helped me along with it. So now it's up to you.
Now
Whatever
it's
you want
yours.
to
Yeah.
do, you have my permission to do anything you want to
I love
this.
that.
Yeah, and it was not just like change a little. It was like change in part or in whole, any of it. So, which is amazing. Like before these letters, I was like, it's so cool that Christopher like took on his this thing for his dad. After having read a lot of these letters, I mean, like I said, I'm almost done. I'm not fully done, but um, I completely understand because Christopher was like his secretary, his editor,
Mhm.
his bouncing off point. Um, I mean,
Right
I,
hand man.
yeah,
aside
yeah,
from Edith, Christopher was his rock.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much.
Oh, I have not gotten to the letters where where Edith has passed. I'm not looking forward to those because I've heard
Oh,
they
Oh,
are devastating.
yeah.
Mhm.
Kaya K posts every once in a while, and I think I've seen Bree Bird and Lee post too about that one letter where it's right after Edith passes, and he's just like broken, and I'm like, I can't. I don't really want to get to that one,
Yeah.
but I want to finish this book
Yeah.
because yeah, those are
oh,
sad times. Let's veer away from sad stuff.
Yeah.
shall we?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Should we? How does everyone feel about Elu Thingol or Elwi Singolo?
I think he's perfect and he never made a bad decision in his life.
You hear that, David Donaldo?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Please don't hurt me, David. Please don't hurt me.
So obligatory fuck Elwi Singolo or
Agreed.
Syndiculo. Oh
That was funny.
yeah.
Uh,
What are some funny things you guys find in the Lord of the Rings? Because like we talked about Bilbo's parting letters to people. There is a lot of humor in it, but there's also a lot of humor if you just like go, but what if, you know, or like was pointed out by our friend Lee, similarly, and Finrod the Badger, which by the way, drink. Yeah, sometimes I like to just do that to people.
The Badger's a good one. I love
The
that
Badger's
Badger.
amazing. It's
badger,
just
badger, badger,
yeah,
badger, badger.
it's
Yeah,
just
sorry.
so
Hey,
funny. It's
nobody
just so
messes with
funny.
Honey Badger.
Yeah. Well, of course, I can't see him as anything other than an English, British bad, whatever it is. European. Is it European? I think it's European badger. I don't know. I'm not a zoologist.
Not nearly as scary.
No, no. A European or English badger, whatever it is, looks like you could put a trench coat, not trench coat, a sport coat on it, and it would just come sit down and have some tea with you. Like that's literally what that badger looks like. Like a North American badger, terrifying. A honey badger, I would give that thing my lunch money if it just looked at me the wrong way. As a matter of fact, if I just happened to see one, I'd be like, I feel like that thing's gonna kick my ass, so I'm just gonna give it my wallet now.
So I'm gonna go this
Yep.
way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But what are some like funny little things in any of the books that um, every once in a while you just go when you think about it, like it just pops in your head.
Well, I think for me, and this is, pardon me, all of you know, this was, I think maybe my the thread I posted that was maybe had the most traction of anything ever was there's a moment, it's only in the books, where it's after the Battle of Pelennor Fields, everybody's dealing with the Black Breath, and Aragorn, it's the passage about the hands of the king or the hands of the healer.
Right.
And he goes into the houses of healing, and the head guy there, he's like, do you have any Athalas, Kingsfoil? And he's like, no, that's like a weed. Why would we have Kingsfoil? The only thing I know about Kingsfoil is that old poem that we said as kids that's like, Kingsfoil, you should keep it around because it's the cure for black breath. So I don't know why you're asking for it when all these people have black breath. We don't know what to do. And so like an Aragorn's sass after that is so beautiful. It's like, call it whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like, get me some right now.
Yeah, it would have been so awesome if they
I
had
don't
put.
care if you call it weed, bud,
Yeah.
kid, I don't give a fuck. Ganja, I want it.
Just get it right now.
Right,
But it's
right,
just
right. That is really funny. Like,
I'm fiending, bro.
yeah,
Right now.
it's only good for curing black breath. Why would we need that? Oh, I don't know. The Nazgul exists,
because of all
motherfucker.
these people that have black breath.
And then,
Have
dude,
stress.
the Houses of the Healing is such a phenomenal chapter, especially when
Yes.
Yorith is amazing. Um, there's one of our friends, I think we all know her, Gloomweaver. Um,
Mhm.
Yep.
she has said before that she would love to just, I think it was her. She said that she would just love to sit down and have tea with Yorith and hear her dish. And after she
Mhm.
said that, I was like, good God, that would be so fun. You are absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, could you imagine? Like, I don't think that woman would stop talking.
That's what I want as like a post-credit scene in the movie. And so she's not in the movie at all, but just like
Like,
post-credits, like it's like the Avengers eating shawarma at the end.
yes.
It's just like her sitting. Honestly, probably Gandalf is the best character. He's just there, he's smoking a pipe, and she's just talking nonstop about everything.
Yeah.
Like
That would be
that's what I want.
that would be really fun. Anybody hearing that or watching this, and you have the wherewithal and cosplay stuff, please just make that. I would love that. I will promote the hell out of it. I'll put it on here. I don't care. I'll put it in the middle of a
Yeah.
episode. I'll put it at the beginning of an episode. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want to see that. That'd be hilarious and
Yes.
amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Lily or Anthony, what about you?
Pretty
Any
much
funny
anytime
moments that stick out?
pretty much anytime Gandalf has his quick temper, just
Yeah.
Oh my
gets
gosh,
me
yes.
about every single time.
Yeah,
Because it's like that really reminds me of my grandfather.
mm.
I'm just
Oh,
like,
So you're
oh
talking
my
about like
God.
anytime Pippin is around, basically, right?
I was just
Yes,
thinking
yes.
before the Doors of Moria in the films
Yeah.
where Pippin's like, well, "What do you do now?" and Gandalf just goes off. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Throw your head against the wall."
Yeah.
Peregrine Took. Yeah.
So good.
I love how Ian McKellen says Peregrine Took as well.
I
Me
know.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Honestly, one of the best castings ever.
I was
Agreed.
just thinking he is my favorite casting
Yeah.
in
I
all
mean,
of PJ's films.
Wow.
I
The
think
Lord.
Christopher Lee is pretty spot on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. I think
Aragorn
Um,
as well, but
Ian
Yeah.
McKellen, Christopher Lee, and they're not my favorite movies, but Martin Freeman, I
Martin
can't get
Freeman
Freeman.
away
as
from
Bilbo
it.
Baggins is
I can't get
chef's
away
kiss.
from it. He's
Yeah, I enjoy
But
Martin Freeman a lot.
yeah,
I do know
um,
that there are some people who are like, oh, he's a little too much like whatever. I can't remember his name in The Office, but they're like, he's kind of the
that's
same and
Bilbo.
everything.
that's
And I was
kind
like,
of Bilbo. Yeah, I think your
It's
problem
Bilbo.
is that Jim or Tim, whatever he is in the British one,
oh, that's right. It is. It is. It is. Tim,
yeah,
you're right.
whatever it is, I don't know. I hate the British Office. Scandal, hot take.
Oh no, George, we can't be friends anymore. I love the British Office.
But anyway,
Boys and girls,
yeah,
we're kicking George off the podcast right now. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
bye.
kidding. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, that just is Bilbo. Like you can't be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's too much. Like, yeah, no, he doesn't want to get involved and he wants to sass people.
Yeah,
That's Bilbo. That's
Bilbo
Jim
is
from
a
The
sassy
Office.
bitch.
That's
I
Tim
love.
from The Office.
Yeah,
It's all of them.
Bilbo is a sassy bitch, and I love
I
it.
love how
But
direct and non-direct Bilbo can be.
yeah,
Yes.
mhm.
but also,
100%.
like, I
He
also
screams
really
Midwest.
love. Yeah, he kind of does scream Midwest. Dude, I saw a
Oh
video.
God.
Speaking of that, let's tangent again. Speaking of that, I saw a video. I can't remember if someone sent it to me or if I just came across it. It was another podcast where someone was like, tell me that the hobbits are not Midwestern. Tell me
I
100% the
was
hobbits
just
are not
thinking.
Midwestern.
I saw a take where somebody said the Shire is the Midwest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. And they
Northern,
pointed out like
Northern
fireworks
Michigan,
and
baby. That's what that is.
yeah,
Green, hills, quiet.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not like Illinois or Indiana.
It's definitely not where
Um,
we're at.
no, no,
Indiana
no.
flat as fuck.
Well, yeah, exactly. If there was I don't know math. I was trying to make a math joke. Never mind.
Yes. Yeah. Wrong crowd. Hard
Yeah,
pass.
yeah. Know your audience, dude. Know your audience. I know. I wasn't
My
paying
medium is
attention.
words, not numbers.
I will say, and this is the one negative thing I have to say, but this is such a tiny thing. But again, we're getting into I'm comparing Becky Young's book ratings to
Yeah.
every adaptation. Ian McKellen is perfect, and his reading of every single line is amazing and wonderful, except
Oh boy.
what? The Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Hmm.
Like he's failing to, like in the book, he's failing to grab the thing. He sees them running to help. He knows he's already lost, and he's saying, "Get the hell out! Go, go!" But in the movie, he's got a perfect grip, almost like he's
Right.
kind of losing it.
He
and
does kind of
whispers it
just.
Almost like he lets go on purpose.
in the theater.
Yes.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that, Anthony. It is kind of like he just lets go.
It is.
Yeah.
I always thought
But
in the
that's not
movie
even-
that it was deliberate that he let go.
Yeah, and which is I don't have a problem with
choice.
changing lore, but like to me, I'm like
Yeah.
what I thought in the theater that day that I still think every time I rewatch, I don't get more chill about this is every time I watch it, I'm like, they're gonna spend the rest of their lives wondering what he said because he went,
Dude, do you
They
know
didn't
how
hear
many
it. Did he say
years
run?
it took
Heard
me
that.
to figure
Did he
out
say
what he
run?
said?
yeah, the Balrog didn't hear it. They didn't hear it. No one heard what he said.
What'd you say, Lily?
Hey,
Do you know
what the
how
fuck
many
is that?
years it took me to understand what the fuck he said?
Yeah,
Because he was like mumbling, and it wasn't until I turned on captions
Yeah.
that I
Right.
could actually figure out.
If-
Oh, he's saying
and
fly.
that's
you
like
fools."
that was like as a kid, like before the movies existed.
Mhm.
Like that was my favorite moment.
Does
Like
he- I
that was
can't-
one of my favorite
Mm.
moments.
As he's
can't-
Fly, you
calling,
fools.
fly, you
I
fools.
can't remember. Does he like
And-
yell? Does it
yeah.
say he yells in the book? I can't
Yeah,
remember. I
he
can grab
cries.
the
Yeah,
book
he
real quick.
cries out. I think
Yeah.
is the word. I could be wrong, but I think he says
I'll
cries
find
out.
it. Of course I
I
have.
say,
Something
you've
like
got it more
cries
on
into the
hand.
abyss, and he's going. Yeah.
I have. Oh, here's Journey in the Dark right here. Interesting. Oh, there's a Bridge of Khazad Doom. Man, that was really quick.
George,
It's
I love
almost
that.
like you knew
They're
this
all
was
looking at
coming,
each other
TJ.
with fellowship.
It is
like,
almost like I knew
he
this
said.
was
What-
coming.
What
I
did
just
he
listen. It's
say?
not like I have like 3 or 4 copies of the Lord of the Rings like directly to my right.
Yeah.
Let's count them together.
Oh, right,
1,
right, right. Oh.
2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have 5. I think. Yeah. Yeah. I have 5 directly to my right. All right. Anyways, sorry. Back to. Oh, here we go. Play photos. Oh, damn, Anthony. You
I'm
got
back.
that. He staggered and fell, grasped vainly at the stone, and slid into the abyss. Fly, you fools! He cried and was gone. He cried. Yeah.
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 Actually, I'm sorry. Let me read that again, George. Fly, you fools! He whispered.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like as those of you who interact with BLM, I have no problem when we make just a lore change. Sometimes I think it's an improvement. I've
Hmm.
talked about a lot of those. That was kind of my whole shtick when I first started posting on Threads. Was like I was reading the books and I was like, here's some things I like better in the movies than in the book. That's
Yeah.
fine. I have no problem with that. But like to me, where I turn back into that little uptight, 12-year-old George who's just uptight about that's not correct, excuse me, is like it's not internally, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, yeah, they didn't hear what he said. For sure, they did not hear him whisper.
Oh, absolutely not. They didn't.
And that is not
You
how
didn't
Bucky- yeah.
know that the
That's
They
why
all
Legolas looks so
actually-
confused.
yeah, they all actually, after having been in Imladris, they were given a special gift by Elrond, and that was the gift of lip reading.
Sure, yeah, that's
Huh?
true. Yeah, they're just excellent lip reading. Well, here,
Yeah.
so here's my headcanon now. It's just exactly you have an elf there. Legolas has great hearing, I'm
Mhm.
sure. I'm sure elves have like super hearing. So I bet that's what it
That
was.
was screaming to Legolas.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what
Oh.
canonically what happened is Legolas was like, no, come on, and then later on he was like, he said, "Fly, you fools." So
Yeah.
Legolas had to explain
The
later.
rest of
Here's
the
what
book
happened.
gets out. Give them a moment for pity's
He
sake.
tells everybody but Frodo because he never talks to Frodo in the movies.
Somebody online found a
And
second.
my bow.
Yeah.
See.
No, somebody online found a second one.
A second, what?
A second time that Legolas talks to Frodo. I can't remember
Okay.
who this is. Apologies to whoever it was. Yeah. So in Moria, as when they're about to surf on the stairs that are falling or whatever, do you know what I mean? The
Mhm.
stair,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get him. Yeah. He says, "Come on, jump." When Frodo is there trying
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
and he
Oh,
does talk to him
Come on.
twice.
I just
Almost
not.
like he's talking to a child. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, elves look at even like Aragorn as like this little baby man,
Right.
But so going back real quick to Legolas is the only one who hears it. I could just hear like the Boromir like, give them a moment for pity's sake. Legolas, what? Can I ask you a question? Yes, of course you may, Boromir. What can I do for you? What the fuck did Gandalf say? Oh, you didn't
Yeah.
hear that?
You know what the fuck
Oh,
that guy just said?
I'm so sorry. He said, "Fly, you fools."
Fly.
Why didn't he yell? Why didn't he yell that?
Boromir goes, we can't fucking fly.
Boromir takes everything hyper literally.
Super literally.
He's Drax the Destroyer.
Okay, but for real, I would be Boromir in that scenario because I would absolutely take that literally.
The hell you
Oh, I love
mean?
Right.
Right.
Be like, I don't have wings. What the fuck you talking about?
Is Boromir all those people who don't understand that the Eagles can't take the ring to Mordor? And Boromir would have been like, so what you mean is Gandalf means for us to find the Eagles and have them drop the ring into Mount Doom. And Legolas is just there like, what? No, it means run.
Can't do that.
Yeah. And then Boromir's just like, why
Can't
didn't
do
he
that.
just say run then? I don't know.
I
I
love
don't
it.
know. But why would you think to fly? You don't have wings. That'd be fantastic. Anyways,
Amazing.
now Lily, what's one of your silly things that you think
Oh,
about
yeah.
from time to time
Oh,
in
good grief.
the Tolkien legendarium? I don't know why I
Gee,
said it that way.
legendarium.
Right.
Just all of Bilbo's sassiness, anything movie Pippin does. Like,
Yes.
I don't
Specifically movie Pippin. Okay.
Well, yeah, because they changed in the books. He's not quite such the comic relief character.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah,
very
Sam
silly.
is more the idiot than Pippin in the
Well, yeah, the
Definitely.
others are
books.
the aristocrats. They're the aristocracy of the
Yeah.
hobbits.
Yep.
Yeah, but like in the movies, they made Pippin more the comic relief,
Mm-hmm.
which okay, that's a choice. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but that's why I made the distinction.
And Billy Boyd is insanely charming.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely.
Billy
yeah.
Boyd,
I honestly,
Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan
Yes.
oh
are
yeah,
both just
they work
A
so well
plus
together.
gems of humans.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
at first, when it first came out, when I was like 16, I was like, wait a minute, why is Frodo the youngest and Pippin is the oldest? Like this is the exact opposite
It is the
of what the
exact
books
opposite.
are. And then so I watched it and I was like, I really wish they'd gotten the ages right, but I really like Billy Boyd. Like I loved Billy Boyd. I
Yeah.
think is the reason that I liked Pippin so much and like was drawn to so much to him as a character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, like on rereads when I read it, I can only hear Billy Boyd's voice in my head
100%.
Oh,
talking
same.
about.
Yeah.
Like I know he's a completely different, not completely different. He's a pretty different character than in
Yeah.
the book, but
Yeah.
Billy Boyd is my Pippin. I will. That's a hill I will die on forever. I
Absolutely.
don't care. I do
Yeah.
not care.
I'm gonna run get a
Um,
refill real quick. I'll be right back.
For
There
sure,
we go.
George. For sure, George. Yeah, yeah. Billy Boyd is phenomenal. Is there any like which one is your favorite? Like, what's your favorite Pippinism from the movie?
Pippinism?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
geez,
just
I
making
don't-
up. I'm just making up terms here as I go.
Pippinism.
I mean,
Is it second breakfast?
appropriate setting to do so, considering the professor literally created whole languages.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. I
Okay.
don't necessarily have a one specific favorite.
Yeah, there is a lot. Like, you know what I do a lot is, you know how he says Frodo's name in the Green Dragon when he's talking to
Frodo Baggins.
yeah, Frodo. I just love the way it sounds.
Yes.
It's so fun.
He's my cousin twice removed on my mother's side.
Yeah, yeah. He's phenomenal. Yeah. Going back and rereading that part after like 10 years of not reading that book because like the movies get burned into your skull. Mine
Mhm.
Yeah.
anyways, mine. They like push out like what
Absolutely
actually
what happened
happened.
to me. Yep.
Yeah. So when I reread it this year, I was like, "Oh, he doesn't give away anything about Frodo. That's interesting. I wonder why they did that." But I mean, I get why they did that because they want to add some more stakes to it. Steak.
It also makes you wonder too in the movies, who the fuck was asking about Frodo?
Right.
And who was Pippin actually talking to?
Yeah, like some dude just like happens to
Right.
know a Frodo,
Right.
and Pippin's like, "Funny you should ask." Frodo
Right.
Baggins. I know
He's
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 right
right
there.
there.
I love him so much. He's my
Right.
cousin. He's my second cousin twice removed on his mother's side. I love him so much. Would you like to meet him? Also he has a ring. Do you want to see? Because like they kind of made Pippin stupid
Yeah.
in the movie. Because like he was on the verge of because like okay in the book they're talking about Bilbo's party and they get too close to something that could reveal, but like in the movie, it feels like Pippin literally is about to be like, Frodo has a magic ring and it makes him disappear, and it's from this
Mhm.
Dark Lord, and we're actually on our way to see what we can do about it.
Yeah.
We're going to Rivendell, which is the home of Elrond in this valley. Like it feels like he literally was about to just info dump, which
Right.
Yeah.
Pippin's like, let me tell you about my day.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah.
totally see Pippin doing that too.
100%.
Well, the thing is, in the book, Pippin's like the equivalent of being like a 17-year-old kid. So, like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that. The Billy Boyd Pippin, who's like in his 30s,
Yeah.
in real life, which I guess for hobbits, he'd probably be about like, he seems like he would have been like the 50-year-old, like the Frodo age. That's weird, you know? It's,
Hmm.
and like
I
I said, I love Billy Boyd. It's just like a one of those weird disconnects, for lack of a better word. Um, Cognitive dissonance. That's the word.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
one. That's the phrase. That's what it feels like to me. It's like you made he's the oldest person of the four hobbits, and you made him feel like the youngest. Like, so basically, you just
Right.
made him an immature man-child hobbit.
They didn't really do a good job of reflecting the age of all the hobbits in
well,
really
I,
any of the
my,
movies.
Yeah.
my understanding of that, the way I always just sort of took it, is because I don't know. I never like looked at the Billy Boyd Pippin and thought he's too old to be Pippin. Like to me, it just seemed like they made them all kind of the same age. Like they made them all pretty
Right.
young, and they
Yeah.
obviously don't get into the minutia of like,
No, they
well,
don't.
hobbits come of age at, which is fine for a movie.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. But like to me, I don't know. Pippin never seemed like, wow, he's old and stupid. Like they made him dumber for sure. But he
Yeah.
also still seemed like he still seemed really young. They just also made Frodo just be young and not be.
Right. Yeah, I
He
think
he
they could
definitely
have mentioned
seemed.
that it was Frodo's birthday as well during the movie, just saying
Yeah,
it.
that
Like
got
Yeah,
totally left out of the
one
movie.
line,
tongue
Oh
in
one
yeah.
cheek,
line. Yeah,
maybe,
Listen,
like, oh, by the way,
listen.
it's my birthday too.
Justice for Frodo, because the movie Frodo is so far different from book
Yeah.
Frodo that people literally think that Sam Gamgee is a better hero than Frodo, and that's not true whatsoever. And they
Dude.
always go
Nope.
to letter, what is it, 290 or 246, I think it is, um, where Tolkien calls Sam the chief hero, and they misinterpret what he means. And then they also skip the part of that letter where he says that Sam also failed when Gollum was like nearing repentance on the stairs of Cirith Ungol,
mm,
until he was rebuked by Sam, and Gollum being um, redeemed would have saved Frodo a little bit more, according to the story that
yeah,
Tolkien saw it
for
in his
sure.
head. Well, Frodo wouldn't have lost a finger for one.
Yeah,
Gollum would have
Yeah.
like willingly threw himself in the volcano, for anyone who doesn't know. But like they just willfully like go over that part. They'll forget that part and they'll go, "Well, Tolkien said he's the chief hero." Like that's not what it means. He also goes on to say, "If you're a simpleton,
yeah. If
your
you're
simple
yeah,
mind."
that's an
Right.
important rest of that sentence. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the movies take the movies take Frodo's a lot of Frodo's bravery and give it to Sam,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and a lot of Sam's stupidity and give it to Pippin.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's yeah, that doesn't work. And another thing that I talked about this on I don't know Blue Sky or Threads or something
Mhm.
semi recently here is that the other thing with I am largely like Scouring of the Shire is a very I love it in the books. It's a very interesting thing. If
Mhm.
I were making the movies, it would be the first thing I would cut.
Yep. I'm with
But
you.
That's
having said that, though,
That's fair.
cutting it takes away from because Frodo's quest kind of, depending on how we're talking about these things, ends in failure. You know, it works out, fate intervenes, but he doesn't cast it in. He declares himself, you know, and so it and depending on the context, Tolkien has referred to it both ways.
right.
Um, but
Yeah, and he does say that everybody would
yeah,
fail at that
and
point.
as everyone would
Right.
have,
Right.
Frodo failed. The movies make Frodo fail, although they do kind of wishy-wash that a little bit because like
Mm-hmm.
the struggle is a little more ambiguous. But
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
like basically, if you take the same interpretation as the book, he fails and then um goes back home and is sad and then goes on the white ships.
Mm-hmm.
Which like I don't have a problem. When I try and describe this, I always come across like I'm like, oh, I hate movie Frodo. I don't, but I think that's something that you lose in the nobility of Frodo is that like during the Scouring of the Shire, he refuses to take up arms,
Oh my
but
God, I love that part.
enforces quite a few decisions on because Merry and Pippin are ready to just go to war right now.
Oh, those two straight up
Right.
Yeah.
save the Shire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like it is
absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely they
Not
do.
They're ready to
100%. I'm
rock.
sorry. It's like they get
Oh,
probably
100%.
75% of the credit for that. Like
Oh,
they took on like so much
yeah,
responsibility there.
100%.
Yeah, oh
Um,
my God, they're so good in that chapter.
Oh, I totally agree. But Frodo's main role there is he, advises and he,
Hmm.
sort of
He becomes
corrects
the
and
Gandalf.
yeah, basically he says,
Yeah.
"Whoa, let's pull that back a little bit. Let's, I don't
Hmm.
want any hobbits killed if you could possibly help it." Like Frodo, after he's failed at his quest in the
Hmm.
Scouring of the Shire, saves probably hundreds of hobbits' lives.
Yeah.
And so that sort of gives you back a little bit of that nobility that we kind of, I don't know, lose in
And
quotation.
he also doesn't want Saruman to be killed or
Yeah,
Wormtongue.
Yeah.
Like he literally is offering them a chance of redemption
yeah.
when Wormtongue slices uh, uh, um, Saruman's throat. I don't know why I couldn't think of that name after I had just said it a second ago.
It's crazy the
Um,
amount of growth Frodo does throughout
yeah,
the book.
Yeah.
Like it
and
is incredible.
I have a. If I were making here's the thing, I would never if the Lord of the Rings gets remade, it should never be a film again.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings needs to be made a
Series.
6-season series with each book being a different series because they all have the endings that like I don't care about the timeline being off, like not lining up, blah blah blah, because I get what they did in the films. I get like Shelob happens when XYZ, I can't remember exactly. XYZ
Yeah.
is happening in
Mhm.
with Merry and Pippin and Gandalf and Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli. I get why they did it in the films. What I think would be better would be to have a series, a
Yeah.
6-season series of the Lord of the Rings and split it up by the way Tolkien split it up.
Yeah.
That I think would be amazing. And then you can include the Scouring of the Shire easily
Yeah.
because in a film,
Absolutely.
I agree with George in a film. It's
Yeah.
really difficult, but it's such an important chapter.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. You can do an anticlimax in a TV show in a way you can't do in
Yeah.
a movie. My example of this when I was talking about this online was The Good Place sort of solves their big problem in like the penultimate episode,
Hmm.
but then another problem results from that. And that's what the last like two episodes are about. And like
Yeah.
that's an example of that recently that's been done well. But there's other shows. Like that's what I'm saying is like a TV show you can get away with like, oh, in
Yeah.
episode 10, we solved the big problem. And now we've got 3 episodes of fallout and epilogue. You can get away with it. You can't do that
Breaking
in a
Bad did it
movie.
too. Breaking Bad did it
Yeah.
too. Because
Well,
remember Hank is I'm sorry, the Ozymandias is like their penultimate episode, and then that's like there's 2 episodes left after that. I
Yeah,
was like when I watched that I was like what the hell's gonna happen?
yeah.
Like
What's left
he's
to do?
caught, he killed him. Spoiler alert, sorry. He's caught. I mean that show's old, but whatever, just in case.
yeah.
Um, he's caught. He kills Hank and Gomez, um, and then I can't remember exactly. There's something about the Nazis or whatever, the skinhead guys. And there's like 2 episodes left after that. I was like, what the or maybe there's one. I can't remember. I'd have
Yeah,
to go back. It's been such a long time since I've seen that. But yeah, that's how I would do The Lord of the Rings if I were to remake it.
100%.
And every chapter is an episode.
Hmm.
Absolutely. That's just
Except the
hard to
Council
say.
of Elrond and Treebeard. Those are like 2 of the longest chapters.
Yeah.
So you do
Although
12
I think
episodes a season,
something
and
like that.
there's a book there. I mean, there's a chapter in each one of those books that
Hmm.
you could definitely a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Council of Elrond being
Council of Elrond is like a
no,
2.
no, that could be 3 episodes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's like 2 or 3 episodes for sure. Um, Treebeard is long, but I think there's actually a lot of description in Treebeard. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and
Yeah.
like reread that. I'm pretty sure that's
Uh,
a lot of
that
description.
would be two.
It
Yeah.
That would
is,
be two
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, because that's a
I would love
long.
to see Council of Elrond again, though, and they have Bilbo be like, "Well, I guess it's up to me,"
Oh my God, that would have been
like
so
how he does in
cool.
the book. I
Yeah.
love that, and I
Yeah,
wish they would have kept that in.
this is why
Well,
Bilbo is like the coolest Hobbit.
yeah. Well, this is something I've talked
He's
about a lot.
willing
That
to do it.
really
Hmm.
been thought through. Is I love that moment in the book. I'm glad that moment's not in the movie because the movies are backwards. The movies, because the books are there's The Hobbit and then Lord of the Rings is a sequel to that. The
Mm,
movies are The Lord of the Rings,
That's
and then we
fair.
get a
That's fair.
prequel, The Hobbit. So
Oh
Bilbo
yeah.
doesn't
right,
mean much to you.
that's
And
true.
so like it just would take away from Frodo's like the nobility of Frodo's if he's literally the second hobbit in that meeting to volunteer,
Right.
as
But
some
it also gives Gandalf another fun thing to do, like because Bilbo is like,
Yeah.
well, silly old Bilbo started this affair. Silly old Bilbo can end it. And Gandalf's like, sit down, Bilbo. You didn't start this.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that so much.
Well, that-
It's
yes,
so
I,
good.
I just
Sassy
love that
Gandalf,
moment.
by the way, is also amazing.
Yeah.
Sassy
Yes.
Bilbo and Sassy Gandalf would make the cutest odd couple
Yes.
ever. That's another
Absolutely.
series I'd need to see.
Yes,
Is
100%.
Sassy Gandalf and Sassy Bilbo.
100%.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I love too in the book the moment of like, because Bilbo volunteers like, well, I started this, I'll take the ring. And Boromir laughs at him until he realizes that everyone else at this meeting, Glorfindel, Elrond, everyone else is like taking it seriously.
Like they
And he looks
respect Bilbo
around like,
so much.
yeah, they're like,
They're like, oh,
brave Bilbo.
Boromir, you don't know?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Like that's the guy. Like
Yeah.
that dude's
He's the
amazing.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Like we
grows
don't
the
really let
shit.
mortals hang out, and
Like
that dude lives
that's our
here now.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't allow mortals to just like hang out here constantly, and that dude straight up lives here. So
Yeah.
just so you know, we think he's silly and he's kind of funny, but like that's the guy.
Yeah.
Just know your role.
I
Know
just
your
love
role.
that moment.
He cooks great food for us too.
That also happens when he stands up to defend Aragorn, which also I love so much.
Yes.
When he stands up and like
poem.
he interrupts people with a poem. I love that he
Yeah.
interrupts people with a
Poem.
fucking poem.
Mhm.
Like that's the most boss ass move that you could ever do. Like this tiny like
Yes.
3 foot individual around these like gigantic people. And he's like, listen, motherfuckers, let me
That's
drop some
right.
poetry on your ass.
That's right. Listen, y'all.
and I think it is also Boromir who's just like, the fuck?
Bars.
He's got
100%.
he's got the loading the
Yeah.
circle of death just on his forehead, like loading.
What?
Like, what the fuck? What is that tiny person doing?
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah. I've had dreams about halflings. Is that the one? I don't get it. Like, is that dude gonna bring a giant wave? I don't understand what's happening. Is he a Isildur's Bane?
Giant wave.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I
Ruh-roh.
also, yeah, that the Council of Elrond is such an amazing chat. This is making me want to go back and just like reread that when we get done. I will be a little inebriated, so I'm already starting to slur. Whoops.
Nice.
So I don't think I'll be able to read it tonight.
Slanja.
But yes, hey, Slancha, exactly. Ah,
Love it.
well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
I know you all said where we can find you earlier in the episode, but we're going to do it again just in case, since now it is the end of the episode. Anthony, where can people find you if they want to talk more about Tolkien or golf? Because you mentioned golf earlier, and
Yes.
drumming. You mentioned that earlier.
Appreciate that, Teach. So the golfing drummer all together, Instagram, Threads. That's pretty much where I'm at this point. Blue Sky as well, of course, TikTok. A little weary on TikTok at the moment, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at for the
Valid.
most part.
Nice. George, where can people find you? Also, by the way, George, before I ask that, you said you do comedy. Do you like go do stand up and stuff?
I haven't really done stand. I keep wanting to do stand up. I've done a lot of like I'm in Chicago. I'm looking at the Second City building right now.
Nice.
I do a fair bit of like improv
That's awesome.
and sketch
Dude, you
comedy
gotta let
and
me know.
stuff.
I want to come up and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, that'd be great. Yeah. I don't have anything
Yes.
going on right now, but I keep my wife and I both have done stuff and we keep doing we need to do some
Dude,
stuff.
let me know. I would
Yeah.
love to come up
Oh,
and see
100%.
and hang out.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But where can people find you if they want to
so
talk
I
comedy
am-
or improv or anything like that?
Yeah. I
Or
am in Chicago
Tolkien.
if you want to come see me. No.
Please
can-
do not feel like you need to drop your address.
I am at what? No.
So I'm on this street at Belmont.
Yeah. No, I am. You can find me on pretty much any medium as at George and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm at the moment mostly active on Blue Sky and still a little bit Threads. I'm trying to make that transition, and then I'm hoping to get into some TikTok-ness. We'll see.
Hopefully it stays around for a while.
Yeah, but Georgia and stuff pretty much anywhere, but Blue Sky is where I am trying to spend most of my time these days.
Nice. Lily, what about you?
I am a little tookish. I can be found on TikTok, Instagram, Substack, Blue Sky, and YouTube. I'm still a little bit on Threads, but like George, I'm trying to make the transition to Blue Sky. Fuck Meta. I love it.
Hey, let's take a drink for that. I
Oh,
agree
yeah.
with Lily.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah, that's
Meta.
add that to your list. Yeah.
Fuck
Cheers.
Meta.
Let it be
Also-
understood also that
Zuck
if I'm
the
taking a drink
cuck.
at all, that's what I mean.
What'd you say, George? I'm sorry.
Let it be understood that if I'm taking a drink at all, I also mean that.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
if you guys don't follow Lily, she's got really cool videos of her cat. Her cat's awesome.
Yes.
I'm about to post one when we get off here, actually.
Nice.
For watching the fucking snow, 'cause it was so cute.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good night.
Appreciate it,
Nice.
Teach.
Night. Thanks for
Night.
having me.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Tolkien on Tap. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on any of my social medias. I'm on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at @V_Neej. Namarie.